Hey there, this is Matt once again, and welcome back to the start of the Star Trek reviews, officially with the first, and one of my favorites, Star Trek, the motion picture. I always loved this poster. I know they redid it for Star Trek Beyond, which came out not too long ago, but I always loved that poster. I always thought it was really cool. Came out in 1979, directed by Robert Wise. Now, Robert Wise had directed the original The Day the Earth Stood Still, among many other films. Star Trek was on for about three seasons, 3 years, got canceled, and then one thing led to another, and they were able to put it into syndication. Normally, for syndication, you would need 100 episodes, but they said, nah, let's do it for this, after some pushing and prodding. And it became very successful in syndication. And it became more and more popular. And they said, well, let's do another show. And it was going to be called Star Trek Phase 2. Leonard Nimoy did not want to come back as Spock, so they had a new character that was going to be a full Vulcan, not half human, half Vulcan. And Paramount wanted to premiere this new Paramount network, which I guess in a way is kind of what Paramount did with the Star Trek Discovery. I mean, it's how you word, it's like a new, I don't know if it's Paramount trying to be Netflix or like some type of thing where you have to buy the Paramount thing in order to watch the show. I'm not 100% familiar on that. But they want to do this with Star Trek Phase 2. It's going to have the rest of the cast. And one of the scripts they had, they took in, someone said, well, wait a minute. This could be a movie. And then with the success of Star Wars, Paramount, well, what the hell do we have? Well, we have this thing called Star Trek. So Star Trek became a movie. Now, this was a VHS tape that someone sent me quite a while ago. Unfortunately, my VCR broke, so I couldn't watch it. But I'm very glad I had this because there are 3 versions of this movie. There's the theatrical cut, which I believe is on the Blu-ray, which I don't have these films on Blu-ray. It sucks that I know Blade Runner is a more popular cult film than Star Trek the Motion Picture, which gets a lot of shit, which I disagree with. But I wish Paramount, if they were not pair of pricks, as I call them, I wish they would have released a Blu-ray with all 3 versions. The theatrical cut, the director's edition, which is pretty decent, good set, and the version I saw the most growing up, the special longer version, which is the theatrical cut, but you add in about 12 minutes. And when I was a kid, we didn't have the VHS that looked like this. It was one that was all in, like the sides were all in gold. Like it didn't have this where you connect all the VHS, it looks like the Enterprise. It was all in like this black and gold. And on the cover, it was Kirk in the middle, and then Spock and McCoy sort of holding him back. It was a shot from the end of the film. And that was the special longer version. I would watch that over and over again. So then when I got the DVD, I'm like, oh shit, there's stuff missing. Like little stuff. And that's from they're in some of the bonus features here. For example, 5 additional scenes for the 1979 theatrical version, 11 deleted scenes from the 1983 TV version, which I guess technically this is what the special longer version is, the TV version, but not like cut up, as it says there, 12 minutes longer. So this is my favorite version of the movie, and I love this movie. It's one of my favorite Star Trek films. Easily I would put my second. My favorite is going to be For the Voyage Home, but watching this again is easily my second favorite. My third favorite is Star Trek 3: The Search for Spock. And I know a lot of people don't like the film because of the slow pace. They feel it's a very dull film. But this comes from a guy, I love 2001: Space Odyssey. So it was trying to be more like that than Star Wars, and I appreciate that. I like Star Wars. I reviewed the Star Wars films, all 3 of them, just not that long ago. But I was never bored with this movie, even when back in the day as a kid watching the special longer version. And I know a lot of my reviews I talk about pacing, But obviously, with either I didn't care for the story, or I didn't care for the actors, or if it's trying to do action, I didn't care for that, or it had annoying comedy, or it had really bad CGI, or there's other factors that can hurt a pacing of the film. But with this, I love the idea. I love the story. Because this, to me, is the Star Trek film that follows its title, Star Trek. It's this trek through this living machine called Voyager, and later on you find out that's Voyager. And they're trekking through the stars. They're trekking through this humongous living machine to the point of the Enterprise is like this big compared to these clouds and blue clouds and all this cool machinery. I remember one time I read someone had a theory that maybe V'ger went to like the Borg world, and that maybe the Borg took a hand in it, which that'd be interesting if that was the case. Of course, that was nowhere around 1979, but I just think, people have fun theories. That was one fun theory I read, that, what if V'ger got the Borg messed with it, and that's what happened. But I'm glad that it doesn't explain exactly what the machine world was. It's just something took this thing and made it a living thing. I just imagine like this one thing that living machines looked at and said, oh, we feel bad for it. Let's give it a brain. Let's give it life. And it's looking for its creator. As one character says, we all create God in our own image. So V'ger's sort of a child looking for his creator. And that's the thing that the movie made me think. It had a little bit of philosophy to it. But at the end of the day, you could call it a special effects showcase. But I'm fine with that because I love the special effects. Uh, I think John Dykstra, and who worked on Star Wars and ILM, and you have Douglas Trumbull, who worked on 2001: Space Odyssey. You have all these effects guys come together, and it's a beautiful looking movie. I love the effects in these movies. In this movie, I love how each character gets their introduction, whether it be McCoy having fun, whereas he doesn't want to get beamed, and another person tells Kirk he wanted to, well, he didn't beam with us at first because he wanted to see how it messed with our molecules. And Kirk's like, that sounds familiar. I can gather who that is. First seeing how it scrambled our molecules. And then when he gets there, he's like, they drafted me. No, they didn't. This was your idea. So it doesn't have as much character development as some of the other sequels, but I still enjoy the characters, and you still get some of development. Kirk, who's an admiral, he's been away from a Starfleet, been away from, I should say, from a ship, and him being introduced to being the captain at the end of a ship, regaining the Enterprise. Spock, who is about ready to get rid of his emotions on Vulcan, and then realizes no, part of his human half he needs, because he heard this consciousness out in the stars, and it was V'ger, and it's like, no, I need to connect. I connected with this thing. Yeah, the scene later on with the tear. For us? No. For V'ger. Because he could relate to it, and it made him realize that the human part is not so bad. So he wants both parts, his human and his Vulcan side. The little love story between Decker and Alia, which culminates at the end of the film. Also, the music by Jerry Goldsmith, beautiful, beautiful music. Jerry Goldsmith, if I had to pick my favorite composer, it would be Jerry Goldsmith. There's a lot of great composers. There's John Williams, James Horner, may he rest in peace, same with Jerry Goldsmith, Alan Silvestri. But if I had to pick one, it'd be Jerry Goldsmith. Being a big Rambo fan, of course, he did the score for the first 3 Rambo movies. Underrated ones like Leviathan with Peter Weller, Runaway with Tom Selleck, Total Recall. He did so many great scores. Alien, and he did a magnificent job, and I love the theme. I know it's more associated with the Next Generation, but I didn't grow up with the Next Generation. I grew up with these. So whenever I think of like, da, 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 I always think of it with these movies, especially the first movie, because I don't think it's in. Well, James Horner did some of the other ones, but I know Jerry Goldsmith did part 5. I forgot who did part 4. I know James Horner did 2, maybe 3. I can't remember. I know he did 2. But as I go along, I'll make sure on that. But love Jerry Goldsmith's score. And like I was saying, as an effect showcase, yeah, I understand there's a lot of actors going, wow. But I was fine with that because anytime I watch this, it's a fun experience. Not just movie watch, it's a fun experience because it really is a voyage. It really is. You don't, unfortunately, you don't see a lot of these guys doing actual exploring, and that was kind of the part of Star Trek, is that they're explorers, and they're exploring the galaxy, and they're exploring, as part of the, to explore strange new worlds, and seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before. That really culminates in this good part of this movie, is them going where no man has gone before, exploring this stuff, and I know a lot of people just find it boring, but I don't. I find... I love the effects. I love the cast. Yeah, it's not like a horror or Chekhov get a lot of character stuff. I understand that. And that's why some... And I enjoy the first 6 movies. I enjoy all 6 of them. Even part 5. Be like, really? Yeah, I'll get to... When I talk about part 5, I'll talk about why I enjoy that movie. One of the reasons is because of the characters, especially the central 3 of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. I think those 3 have a lot of good stuff together. Like their pain, showing their pain, dealing with their pain, and all that stuff. I need my pain. I want my pain. Yeah, you do, yeah, if you cut out the horrid naked dancing and a few others, I don't think... And if the effects were not fucked up because of circumstances, I don't think it'd be as hated as it is nowadays. That's just my feelings, but I'll talk about that. But this one, I love just... Out of all the films, this got the most sense of exploring the unknown and discovering the unknown, and like a ship on the sea, sailing to see what's out there in the world, in the vast oceans. This really got this sense of exploration and the vastness of space and going to V'ger, and I really appreciate that. And again, I love the old school effects, and I miss them. I know a lot of times I complain about CGI, and yeah, some of the stuff in here is pretty good, I gotta admit. But I'm always a sucker for the stuff. Even though it's not extremely polished, but how they just have certain reality to it, or certain, weirdly enough, physicality, even if it's just stuff painted. I can't quite explain it. And there's good CGI nowadays, there are. At the same time, there's a lot of bad CGI too, including films that cost like $200 million, but yet their CGI can't compare to stuff in this movie from 1979. And people can think, I'm sorry, I'm just being truthful, and some of it is the truth. I mean, you look at some movies that cost $200 million and they have certain fight scenes that look like a video game. I'm sorry, they don't hold up to stuff like this. And that's from back in the 70s. That's just my opinion. And again, I like the story. It's simple, but yet for me, it was effective for me. I really enjoyed the idea of this living machine that's so gigantic and so vast, and seeing all the in and outs of this machine, and what the imagination of these effects guys could come up with. What does a living machine look like? Or when Spock goes in to the inner parts of V'ger in this chamber, and it's this chamber which has all these moons and planets, and this tunnel with all this electricity, and there's this lady here, Perseus Kambata, and it's like her body like this, and her sensor, and Spock going towards and trying to mind meld it. And amongst all that, you get some really nice little sweet scenes. The bit with Spock with the tear, there's a bit where I think it's a little bit longer in this version, which I really like. That's why I wish this version was on a Blu-ray. Again, Paramount, stop being a pair of pricks. Get the Golden Child on Blu-ray. Get some of your films on Blu-ray. Get all versions, all three on a Blu-ray. Paramount. Instead of fucking up your franchises like Ninja Turtles, Transformers, Star Trek. Instead of fucking up your franchises, how about you take a step back and literally fuck your own face. Take a line from Tropic Thunder. Or you just take a step back, not fuck your own face, and give fans, like, even the director's edition is not on a Blu-ray, just a theatrical cut, you lazy fucking fucks. Stop being lazy shits, Paramount. Take every fucking star and shove it up your ass. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to sit your ass on top of this fucking mountain after I stick every star up like a fucking sex toy. Every star up. And I'm going to sit your ass on the mountain and I'm going to press down until you give in. Or until the fucking tip of the mountain goes up Cannibal Holocaust out through your fucking mouth, Paramount. Lay off Paramount for a bit. But I'm pissed at Paramount. I'm tired of Paramount fucking things up. Tired of being a pair of pricks. But when you get into the movie, even maybe because you see a lot, I see a lot of stuff nowadays. I'll speak for myself. I see a lot of stuff nowadays that seem to go together. So that when I look at movies of the past and they do different stuff, or the old stuff they used to do that they don't do anymore, when you look back, it seems more refreshing because they don't do that anymore. Even the beginning where it's just pitch black, and you hear music, and I think that was done to sort of get you in the mood, sort of get you in the theater, settle down, and give you a full experience. Let's play some beautiful music by Jerry Goldsmith, and you're getting in the mood of this great piece of music, and then the titles pop up, and then that great Jerry Goldsmith theme. And I kind of miss that in movies. I miss, just a simple like prelude with this musical bit. It brings like a little bit of extra to it. Like you're going to watch the movie, you're going to enjoy the movie, and if the music is good, let's give you a little bit extra. Let's let you hear some music by itself. Let you settle down in your seat, get comfortable. I would prefer that than the 50 million fucking commercials that they put in theaters nowadays that I don't give a fuck about, or a trailer for another fucking Tomb Raider movie, or a new Tomb Raider movie, or another fucking superhero movie, which I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit old of. That's just me. Getting burned out by it. I've liked quite a bit of superhero movies, but I'm getting burned out on it. So then you have that great, awesome Jerry Goldsmith music with the titles, and you have the three Klingons come in, and you get a new, fresh look at the Klingons, which look a bit different than they did on the TV show. And I love the look of the cloud, the almost nebula type of cloud around this machine. Even the slow realization of the Klingons as each of their three torpedoes disappear, and like, oh shit. They get fucked up. I like the look of Vulcan. I actually like the original look of Vulcan. I didn't care for how they changed it in the director's edition. I like the mountains and volcano type of looks of Vulcan in the original cut. And Spock, this consciousness is calling to him from space, so he needs to leave this ritual and meet. I know Leonard Nimoy didn't want to come back for the movie at first, but with some persuasion, he did come back. Has a nice review of Kirk with the Jerry Goldsmith music as he comes out of the shuttle. I thought that was great. Like you see him through the window and it opens and he arrives. There's Captain Kirk. You had a nice little moment between Kirk and Scotty where he's like, they gave him back to me, Scotty. Just gave him back? I doubt it was that easy. And Kirk's like, you're right. They play off better than me. I like the reveal of the Starship Enterprise with the music. You get little bits and pieces throughout the construction and the full reveal. I know a lot of people make fun of the fact that it takes so long for the reveal, but I like it. I like the effects. I love the model work. I love the music. So I sit back and I enjoy, and it doesn't bother me. You know, I like the cast. Everything, if I like everything around it, I'm fine with a slow-paced movie. I really am, despite what I've talked about on other films. But they have other shit going on with it. He greets the crew. You got Chekhov, Walter Koenig, you got Uhura, Nichelle Nichols, Sulu. You have George Takei. The little bit, I think they put in the director's edition, but I know it was in this version where it's like Sulu's like, he wanted her back, he got her. And one guy's like, well, what about Decker? You know, he's been on here since the start. And Uhura's like, hey, the possibilities of us returning may have just doubled. And Decker is Stephen Collins. Now, that's one of the sad things about this, watching this again, is Stephen Collins. For those who don't know, he's this actor here. He plays Decker. So the guy was going to be the command, but then Kirk's going to take over, and Decker doesn't like it. Stephen Collins, probably most famous for the TV show Seventh Heaven. What happened was, I think he was taped talking about how he had sex with underage girls. Molestation. And I feel bad for the people that got involved with that. So it's hard to separate the actor from what he did in real life. Like, it's one thing to be a dick. Everyone's capable of being a dick, but that, I don't know, when you're messing with underage kids, I don't know, it's just hard for me to separate the man from the work, or the person from the work. I mean, it's hard to do that. So, like, from time to time, like, I'm wishing Kirk would just punch him in the face. If I had to be fair, Stephen Collins is not doing a bad job acting. But yeah, it's just one of those things at the end where him and her become one. And it's like, okay, I have to picture it's not the actor, it's the character. They're different. I have to picture that. I have to separate that. But yeah, it does suck. So I like the idea of a transporter malfunction, because I don't know if I've seen that before or since on Star Trek, where the transporter malfunctions. I think there was one episode of The Next Generation where the transporter malfunctions and then they de-age or they become younger or something. I'm not sure about that, but actually malfunction where you get this really eerie stream and you kind of see them in the transporter being beamed, but not really. And it's like this weird, like almost they're forming into something else. And then this eerie stream I thought was pretty creepy. And they get beamed back. And Chris like, do you have them? Enterprise. They didn't live long. Whatever came bad didn't live long, fortunately. Which, you can picture in your head what happened. So, again, never really thought of that, but it was an interesting idea to put in there. Perseus Kambata, I thought she did a good job as Aliyah. Was it her race? Delta or Delton? I liked her. Not only beautiful, but she worked well in the acting. I like the bit that, well, I know it wasn't in the theatrical, but it's in this version, where Sulu keeps staring at her. And it's like, oh, well, let me show you, this is how you do this. And then it starts fucking up. He's like, sorry. Like, he's so captivated by her. It's like, that's why when I watched Star Trek Beyond, I thought it was kind of weird. Like, it's an alternate timeline, but in that timeline, Sulu's gay. I'm like, okay, that's weird. Because, I remember that scene there, and I'm like, well, I guess he's bi. But then, like, oh, Simon Pegg and them saying, well, he's gay. And I'm like, okay. I thought it was weird because in this, he was like ready, like, hey, wanting to flirt with her. So I know George Takei didn't like that. They made Sulu dance Starship Beyond. I'm like, well, at least listen to George Takei if he doesn't want it. To me, it's like, I'll get to that, but I'm like, why did you stop the movie to show us? Okay, fine, he is, even though it doesn't really. I know the alternate, but it's whatever. I'm like, George Takei doesn't want it, but you're doing it anyway just for shits and giggles. I don't know. See, like this. Look, the cast. You have a Vulcan. You have someone who happens to be black. Someone who happens to be Asian. No one gives a shit. Just depends if they're good. And these guys are good. They do a good job. Nowadays, it's all political bullshit and just. I just want to enjoy the fucking movie, okay? You don't need to stop the movie and put on a neon sign for politics. Unless it's purposely supposed to be a political movie. Other than that, just be entertained by the movie. Stop stopping the movie whatever the fuck you want. I have Teen Everyone's come back and go, message. Remember, don't be, what was that movie? Don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. And then the movie would stop at Teen Ivory Wayne's just like, message. Yeah, that's a fun movie. But get back to this. I like that you screw it up with the touching the consoles. Oh, sorry. Gave a little bit of humor to it. And McCoy refusing the beam, like I said. And a lady comes and tosses a card and says, well, he wanted us to go through first to see how it scrambled our molecules. And then McCoy comes in and is like, they drafted me. This was your idea, wasn't it? Hey, there's a thing out there. Why is there any object we don't understand? We always call it a thing. And it's nice that Kirk admits that he needs McCoy. Later on, he needs Spock. And sort of that triangle of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. That's one of my favorite things of these first 6 movies is that trifecta of those 3 actors and characters. And I think it's a big strength to these first 6 movies. I really do. They take the ship out. I love the warp effects when the ship goes in. It leaves almost this rainbow, but not quite a rainbow, like this assortment of colors. I definitely like it more than the warp stuff they do in the J.J. Abrams stuff, which it just looks weird and cluttered and just looks shitty. Like this with the and the light that left behind. I like the way it looks here a lot more. They had tried on a wormhole, they fucked it up with this asteroid with photon torpedoes. Even as a kid, it was always funny the way they taught because of the distortion. Photon torpedoes, away! It made me laugh. I thought it was supposed to be funny, but it gives me some type of enjoyment. Interesting scene. I will admit that that's one bit where the director's edition is a little bit better because instead of just the rock blowing up, they show like the Enterprise like here and then it blowing up in the distance. I thought that was a nice addition. If I knew how to edit for shit, I would take this and edit like a couple of the director's stuff in here. If I could find a copy of this online, but good luck. I tried to find torrents to look at the special longer version, but anytime I did, it took like, I would leave it like for a day, leave, do stuff, come back, it went nowhere, so, because there were no seeds. You can't torrent. Well, I want to see this version and it's not available on DVD Blu-ray, so blame Paramount. And like, take a little bit of the director's edition, like a little bit of this stuff, and make my own cut. I like doing that. I fuck up a lot though, so I wish I had more talent with that. It's around this time where Kirk is sort of fighting with Decker and McCoy's being the voice of reason for Kirk, and Spock arrives. And Spock, he's kind of distant from everybody. I like this bit where Kirk is like, will you please sit down? So I think there's some little subtle things of humor, and that's fine. I don't need a fucking, I don't need 80 minutes. I don't need fart jokes, shit jokes. I don't need comedy every 10 minutes. I'm fine with a bit of seriousness. I appreciate it, actually. Unless you suck. And I would call this underrated, because this gets a bad rap, and I disagree. I like this more than Wrath of Khan. I like Wrath of Khan, I really do. Like I said, if I did my top 5 Star Trek films, there would be 4, 1, 3, 6, then 2. Although I do like part 5. It is the weakness of the 6, but I still like it. But yeah, I do like Wrath of Khan. But everyone always gives that the praise. It deserves it, but considering people not part 3, they not part 1, it's like, I disagree. I don't think they're as bad as people make out to be. That's just my opinion. They're getting close to V'ger. Spot transmits this machine. Chekhov gets his hand hurt. They're exploring through the cloud. I just love the exploration sequences. You never get that with the other Star Trek films. That's because even though this made money, it got a lot of bad word of mouth, so they didn't want to do that anymore. But I like the exploration. I love the look inside, the different colors, the different ways, how small the Enterprise is compared to it. The probe that comes in, this uh, beam of light that goes around the ship and fucks with the controls, and Spot damages it, and it shocks Spock, and it takes Percy's Kambata. She's brought back as a probe. It looks like her, but it's a machine. And she says that V'ger wants to find its creator. That's where you get the scene where Spock goes in this jumpsuit, and I love his exploration. I love the look, the imagination that goes into what's a living machine going to look like. Okay, here's these circuits on the ground that might have been the planet that V'ger came from, or V'ger later on when we find out Voyager, maybe it's the planet he went to when he came from. The moons and stars and planets, which maybe it sort of mapped all this out on his journey. Maybe took him over. It just shows how gigantic this place is. Like I said, the Percy's come by with a sensor. I love the whole look of it. Very creative. Spot tries to mind meld it. Gets helped by Kirk. I love the scene where Kirk and Spot are talking, and Spot goes, what should he have known? That's what Kirk asked. What should he have known? And Cock, too busy thinking of Paramount. Who did he eat cock? Well, I mean, you have a mound that looks like a dick. Maybe they're busy eating cock. Nothing is anything wrong with eating cock. It's just personal preference. I care to eat something that's not cock. What did I say? I fucked up. I meant to say Spock. I blame my friend Mike OCP. If he watches this, I hope he comments. Because I watched some of his reviews, and I think it was Star Trek 4. My friend Mike OCP watch his Star Trek 4 review. First off, he keeps calling the one girl Gillian Anderson. The other time, he said cock instead of Spock. It was like it's a 2-part review, because that's when we only had 10-15 minutes. Or at least I think he had it because some stupid thing with the accounts. So it's part 1 and part 2. He keeps mentioning Gillian Anderson when that's not what he's talking about. Yeah, he calls Spock cock. And it got stuck in my head, so. No, it's not his fault. I fucked up. I meant to say Spock. This is a nice sweet moment where Kirk is asking what should he have known, and Spock holds his hand and grabs his hands like this. Simple feeling that's beyond V'ger. And it shows the bond these two have each other, and the care. It shows what you can tell without tons of dialogue. It shows that these guys care for each other, these characters, and I liked that. And maybe because in retrospect, when I look at the 6 films, I'm fine with this not having so much character stuff because I can have. Because if I don't watch this, I don't watch part 2 and 3 and 4 and yes, even 5 and 6, and I get all the character stuff there. So it's not the copying other stuff. It's being its own movie, its own different feel of a movie, and I appreciate that. And I thought it was done well. And that's where you get the idea that we all create God in our own image, and here's a machine looking for its creator. Is this all I am? Is this all I'm capable of? Interesting themes to me. And McCoy has some fun humor. Just spots like we gotta treat it like a child. And McCoy goes, "This child is bound to wipe out all of humanity. What do you suggest we do? Spank it?" And Kirk shows why he's the captain. He gets an idea and he's like, okay, treat it like a child. He's going bluff. He's like, we know why you're trying to contact Earth. You have all these things around it. We know why. We know who the creator is. We know what's going on. And the probe says, well, tell us. He goes, no. I didn't like talking to a child. Kirk unit, you gotta tell us. No. Take those things off of Earth. And even as a child, it starts having a tantrum and fucking with the ship. And Kirk's like, no. And if I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to tell the probe, I'm going to tell it to its face. And they go there. Just love the look and design of the sets. And a nice revelation where V'ger is Voyager. And how it was a probe from Earth. And it was taken and life was given to it. And sort of, not Stephen Collins, the asshole, but Decker, the character. And Aliyah, who, even though it's a probe, has some distant memories of having a relationship with Decker. They become a life form. And they have to leave, and even one of them says, we just witnessed the birth of a new life form. So in a way, it's kind of as if, what if happened if these guys witnessed the ending of 2001: A Space Odyssey, in a way. And I say in a way, because that was sort of a birth of a new life form at the end with the baby. In a way, not exactly, but in a way. And I like that. I appreciate that. And it wasn't, I love action. I mean, look at me. I love action. I'm wearing a Rambo hat. Rambo's in, I mean, look at it. I got Heat in the background, which is action and drama and so forth. I mean, I love action, but I can appreciate a movie like this as well. And I'll always love this movie. Again, I love the actors involved. I love seeing them all come back. No one was missing. It didn't fuck around with any continuity or anything from the old TV show, which I appreciate. It didn't have stupid humor that was out of the blue. I thought it had a consistent tone, because sometimes in these Star Trek movies, like Star Trek Nemesis, for example, you go from Riker and Troy getting married and telling Worf, you gotta get naked, because part of me as a Betazoid, whatever Troy is to get naked. But then you cut to later on Troy getting mind raped. What? And then adding some Doom buddies. Fuck, I hate that movie. I'll get to that later. Shitty Wrath of Dawn ripoff. But this one, I love the ideas it brings up. I love the idea of a huge living machine. I love the look, the visual aesthetics of it. Love the special effects. It's always a great visual and audio experience watching the movie with the beautiful Jerry Goldsmith underneath. I think Robert Wise did a really good job. Yeah, the only negative I would give, yes, there are some little bit of pacing issues where, yes, once in a while there's an effect shot that lasts a bit too long. But I don't know, it's just, I appreciate the model workers and the effects, and I appreciate the overall journey, that I'm fine with that. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to fast forward, I'm fine with that. Give me time to, get a drink, get a drink, and then and then go back to it. So I love this movie. Love this movie very much. Right down to the poster, even the teaser and the trailers. I thought they were really well done. Especially the teaser. I love the teaser to this. And yeah, I wish Paramount would release all three versions on a Blu-ray instead of just a theatrical cut. And yeah, you don't put all three versions on Blu-ray. I'm sure there's many other films that have had alternate versions. This is your first Star Trek movie. I think you could give it some of that. Stop being lazy, cheap fucks. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. I know we're repeating stuff, but I always forget the story was by Alan Dean Foster, who has written many novelizations like for Alien and so forth. Produced by Gene Roddenberry. Screenplay by Harold Livingston. And I don't know, just in case you're wondering, that's what the inside of VHS tape. Yeah, this is what we had back in the day, VHS tapes. Which were very cool. And oh, it's weird how like something like a VHS tape. Like I didn't grow up with this VHS tape, but just looking at a VHS tape brings back memories of this. Since I only had like 3 or 4 channels, most of the time watching movies and finding out about movies was from the VHS tape. Was popping them in and maybe did a blank tape and recording 2 or 3 onto one tape, or once in a while buying a tape like this. Like the again, it didn't look like this. It was a different Star Trek. I think we had the first 3 Star Trek movies, and that's sort of gold, black. I don't know what they were like. I don't know if it was a collector's edition or what, but anyway. That's my thoughts on Star Trek the Motion Picture. My second favorite Star Trek film after The Voyage Home. Love this movie to death. Thanks for watching. Take care. And stay tuned for the rest of the Star Trek marathon. Later.